Hi, I'm Ashley Adamson, and we're going to talk about how to stop being dysphoric. This is a really tough one to answer because each person's dysphoria is a little different depending on what causes your dysphoria, how your anxiety works, how you think about things, how you potentially obsess about things, and what you can do to mitigate them. And what's your self-talk? You know, your self-talk is your programming, and I think this is probably the most important tool and skill to build, is to understand how the quality of your self-talk, how it's programming your brain, how your subconscious is listening to this program of your self-talk, and how you're inserting positive commentary into it and positive perceptions. I feel like maybe calling it perception management. Have you ever caught yourself where you've seen something and saw yourself seeing that thing? Like you become a part of the process of processing your own way of seeing something. Where this may come up a lot, because we have to decouple this and deconstruct it, is when there's a miscommunication. This is an after the fact recalibration. But if you have a miscommunication with someone and you then take a step back and you say, oh, I saw it this way and you were trying to mean it that way. I can see how you meant that. Let's recalibrate that. I will recalibrate that. And now we can align again. This concept is super important with being dysphoric, and I'll kind of dive into this next. To stop being dysphoric, first of all, I want to say that yes, it would be nice to just say, here's the silver bullet, and now you're just going to stop being dysphoric. But it's not really that cut and dry, and dysphoria is kind of like this. It has different levels to it, and those levels are calibrated depending on where you are in your transition, what kind of maneuvers and actions you've taken to change your experience with your dysphoria, and how long you've gotten used to this and worked with it. Dysphoria, when you're new, it's balls. It hurts. It feels really, really, really bad, and it can really knock you down. But dysphoria for 2 years, dysphoria for 3 years, you can get used to it. You can get used to the ground. You can say, oh yeah, I can identify that voice, and I can say, okay, yeah, I know what's going on there, and I know where it's going, and I'm not going to let it go there, right? You can build up a tolerance and an ability to cope with and maneuver your mind, your mental perception and space to mitigate some of the damage. Or sometimes you may just have it, you'll go through it and know the process because you've gone through it. So, you know, it depends on where you're at on how to stop dysphoria. Here's what works for me, and I'll pepper in what I've also heard from other people. So the things that have worked for me is to change how I anchor my perspective on what a female body is. This is how I would see this. Anchoring is, you know, like a ship and an anchor. That's how it sets its center, where it is and where it stays. And we all have a perception of what it is to be a woman and what those features are of that woman. Now, being a woman and the definition of a woman varies across all cultures and experiences all around the world. So you have a constructed definition. We can just say that. How do you construct that definition for yourself? And how does your subconscious interpret and internalize this internal gender schematic of what a woman is? Because you can think what a woman is, you can believe what a woman is, and there's a part within you that has been passively absorbing and internalizing this is what a woman is. And I think for me, one of the things that I haven't been able to tackle is what I call the vagina problem, which is that I don't have a vagina, and I think that if I had a vagina, I think it would completely finish and complete my own sense of dysphoria, but I do not have strong bottom dysphoria. It's just kind of like there's this fundamental vagina definition, I think, deeper past my mental levels and into some kind of subconscious part. So I know that there is a dysphoria that I actually cannot resolve without surgery, and I just have to kind of sit there and acknowledge that and say, all right, I'll deal with that. But there are lighter dysphorias, and when I was, say, in a early stage of my transition where I was completely non-passing. I was maybe like 3 months into hormones, so like not enough change really. I could look into the mirror and say, okay, I see him. But before I look into the mirror, I am going to change my perspective proactively to see her in the mirror and to say, oh, I see her. Because your mind fixates on whatever you look at and whatever you obsess about. I need a little bit of water. Do I have a little water? So you have to think about, you kind of have to work against your own mind and see how it works there. Another thing that's worked for me, oh yeah, back to the anchoring, is to change my anchoring. So, you know, Instagram, things like that, they create, and TikTok, they create an unrealistic image of what a woman looks like. Wouldn't you agree? Wouldn't you say that a lot of the things that get top looked at and promoted to your feed, they're very hot, beautiful women that aren't really the norm and aren't really, should not be used as your anchoring for what a woman is. They have bodies that I'll just never be able to achieve, and they're a lot shorter than me. I'm 5'10". So their body type is very different. And this conversation with my breast surgeon actually really changed my perception of my body. He said, you're looking at women that are shorter than you and their proportions are different. Kim Kardashian, for example, who has like got a lot of oomph, she's 5'2". So proportionally speaking, she can have an incredibly large booty because she's a lot smaller. But you're 5'10", and what you need to do is you need to look at women that are 5'10" and more in your range to see what they look like. And you know what? Bigger women have broader shoulders and they have larger rib cages and they are just longer. They're less curvy because you're just taller. And once I shifted my perspective and said, oh, I'm looking at the wrong body type for anchoring my perspective on what it means to be a woman, suddenly I became more accepting. Like, I don't have a large booty, you know, like I have a booty, like just a little bit, you know, it's there. But like, you know, it's not massive, it's not huge, it's just there. And I just have to kind of come to terms with that. Like, my body's just my body type. This is mine, and it's a fairly good one, and this is me. I'm just skinny. I'm skinny. I'm really skinny, and I just have to kind of acknowledge that. Doesn't really change with, I've tried, and that's that. My rib cage, this is another thing that causes a lot of dysphoria. Like, you can see here that it doesn't look very curvy, and I do this to kind of accentuate and add curvature, but it's not. It's fairly wide, actually. I looked into cutting that up, removing it. Can't do that. And I just have to kind of come to terms with that. Just say, you know what? This is just my body, and you know, every body doesn't have to be perfect. My idealized body doesn't have to be mine. I don't have that. And you know what? Maybe you can re-articulate your value system to say, you know what? My trans body is beautiful, and this is a body that I should be promoting to help create variations of what a body looks like. So these are some of my tips. I'll have more in many other videos. If you would like to join my Discord community, there's a link below. And if you'd like to support me, there's always my Patreon. I'll see you in another episode soon. Bye.